Welcome to the Honest Media. Today is June 8th, 2017. And if you're watching this, you already know that today is Comey Day, Comeygate, the day when we all learn what we've known for several months now. That the Russia narrative is almost completely made up. It's a total distraction to keep us all on our toes and remove confidence in our president. We all know that Trump is not and was never under FBI investigation. And we know that Comey is a disturbingly caustic and strange man, if we didn't know that already from the revelations that he hid in the White House bushes and among the curtains to avoid President Trump. So this is from the New York Post, and I want to start with this because this is kind of where the media's at right now, because they still haven't given up. They're still pushing this garbage out to us. They think that we're too stupid to understand, to identify their bias. So this is again from today from the New York Post. So far, Jim Comey is disappointing the witch hunters. So President Trump was absolutely correct when he insisted, to much derision from Democrats and the mainstream media, that then FBI Director James Comey assured him 3 times that he wasn't personally under investigation. That's just one of the revelations in Comey's prepared statement for his Thursday testimony before the Senate Intelligence Committee. Yes, some of the others paint the president as unaware or unconcerned with how the government works and as obsessed with top officials' quote loyalty. And Comey says Trump repeatedly asked for the investigation of ex-National Security Advisor Michael Flynn to go away, but also the president never crossed the line by ordering a shutdown. And this is how duplicitous the New York Times goes, because we'll just continue here for just a second, and then we got to go to how we know that they are fake news. So an order would be considered an obstruction of justice, but just making the request is troubling, since it suggests the president doesn't appreciate why investigative agencies like the FBI must remain fully independent and immune from political interference. And that can be dangerous, so says the New York Post, not least of all for the president himself. Comey emphasizes, "I did not say I would, quote, let this go." But he also says Trump's request left him so uncomfortable that he implored, that's a quote, Attorney General Jeff Sessions to, quote, prevent any further direct communication between Comey and Trump. And he says Trump complained that the entire investigation into possible collusion with Russia was a, quote, cloud that was impeding his ability to act, and asked what Comey could do to, quote, lift that cloud. Now, so according to Comey, according to the New York Post, what Trump did by saying, I hope you can let this go, that is tantamount to Trump not understanding how the government works, Trump expecting Comey to drop a case that we had full reason to do. But this just came out last year. Like, this is within 12 months. This came out August 11th of 2016 in the Washington Times. It's titled, Obama Administration Blocked FBI Probe of Clinton Foundation Corruption. And that is the type of duplicity that we're talking about. The media doesn't seem to understand their own bias here. It says the Trump campaign seized on reports Thursday that the Obama administration rejected requests from 3 FBI field offices that wanted to open public corruption cases involving the Clinton Foundation and Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. After banks alerted field offices to suspicious activity involving the Clinton charity, the FBI wanted to investigate conflicts of interest stemming from foreign donations during Mrs. Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State. And this is reported by none other than the Clinton News Network. The revelation of the blocked corruption probe follows criticism of the decision of the Justice Department not to pursue criminal charges against Mrs. Clinton for a secret email setup as Secretary of State, despite the FBI's determination that she was, quote, extremely careless and mishandled classified information. So, Craig, what else do we have to say? It's bad for President Trump to say, quote, I hope you can let this go. But it's completely okay when Obama directs, allegedly, the Attorney General, the Justice Department, to say, you cannot investigate the Clinton Foundation.
What do you say?
It's flabbergasting. It really is. Because we've got a clear example of Obama doing something that is just so much worse, on a scale of hundreds times worse. Mm-hmm. He's saying, no, don't investigate what may turn out to be a criminal cartel run by the next president of the United States. This is back in August, back when she was guaranteed to win. You know, Trump had a 0% chance.
Well, that's a good reason Comey probably got fired, because he was in the Clintons' back pocket.
Well, and we can talk about it. Well, we will here in a second about just what a crazy kind of guy Comey is. But that just really, it really just baffles me that nobody is making this comparison, that what Obama did is literally say, no, I don't want you to investigate a potential criminal case against the future president of the United States. But then when Trump gets into office, this little thing, I hope you can let this go, is tantamount to Trump saying, I'm ordering you to let this go. You will let this go or else I will fire you.
Well, typical Democrat standards. If it wasn't for double standards, they'd have no standards.
That's about right. And this is another report that's come out of this Comey thing. You know, I am thankful that this weird, lanky guy who hides in the curtains to avoid the president.
Yeah, he actually tried to camouflage him.
Yeah, he was wearing a blue suit, so he just, maybe no one will see me. And then Trump sees him across through and manhandles him the way he did to Macron a week or two ago.
Macaroni.
Merkel's new boy toy. But this is from Milo Yiannopoulos' website, and this came out actually last night, Wednesday night. Comey Statement confirms media pushed the Trump-Russia story based on, quote, salacious and unverified reports. In his prepared remarks, set to be delivered before the Senate Intelligence Committee tomorrow, again, that's today now. The former FBI director states, among many things, that the intelligence community knew in advance of media efforts to publish, quote, salacious and unverified information regarding the Trump-Russia narrative. And this, of course, includes the now infamous BuzzFeed dossier, as they like to call it, that had the excerpt about Trump holding a plate of chicken tenders and yelling at his daughter, reply to this post tonight or your mother will die. Yeah, that is a dossier.
I was thinking of the one with the Russian girls relieving themselves.
That's the same dossier. Yeah, it's the same dossier. It's totally insane that they would publish it. And BuzzFeed edited it, and they published 11 pages that were the most believable pages. And so that
when in real life, we know that Democrats are actually doing them sort of things.
Well, we could talk about that. I mean, last night I was reading an article from Sweden that was about the
poor Sweden.
Yeah, the women in Sweden who are adopting these young kids, right? And we're going to have to go to break, so I'll just tell this story and then we'll go to break. But these women in Sweden, you know, we often talked about the mysterious links between leftism and pedophilia. So in Sweden, they've got these, the women, the middle-aged women, they adopt these kids who can be anywhere from 15 to 22, these Syrian kids or whatever, refugee kids. And more of them are taking them to bed with them. And having sexual relations with these children. Another mysterious and totally unprecedented connection between leftism and pedophilia. We've got to take a moment off. You're watching The Honest Media with Tom Pappert and Craig Chrysler. We will be right back in just a few minutes. Welcome back to The Honest Media. Before we got kind of sidetracked there talking about Swedenistan, we were talking about, of course, the Comey controversy, if you can even call it that. It's really a non-controversy at this point. The controversy is that the media built this up to the point where everybody and their mother is talking about it, and all Comey is saying exactly what everybody already knew. Trump did nothing wrong. Trump was not under investigation. It's all a bunch of, quote, fake news. So we'll go on. Comey goes on to state that the Director of National Intelligence requested that he stay following that briefing to speak with Trump individually about upcoming allegations that would be made against the then president-elect. Again, this meeting was on January 6th. Comey knew about the BuzzFeed Golden Showers dossier, again, that featured an excerpt where he's holding a plate. If you understand memes, you get this. He's holding a plate of chicken tenders, and he screams at his daughter, reply to this post or your mother will die tonight. I mean, that is in the dossier that these people tried to say was legitimate. It just shows how desperate the media is. And so it goes on. Comey's statement continues, the intelligence community leadership thought it is important for a variety of reasons to alert the incoming president to the existence of this material, even though it's salacious and unverified. Among these reasons were, 1, we knew the media was about to publicly report the material, and we believed the intelligence community should not keep knowledge of the material and its imminent release from the then president-elect. And 2, to the extent there was some effort to compromise an incoming president, we could blunt any such effort with a defensive briefing. So, Now, this Comey guy, I mean, Greg, he's really a weird guy. I mean, the more that comes out, like, you know, a couple weeks ago we were talking with Dan Lyman here on the show about when Comey got the news that he had been canned, he started laughing like, oh, this can't happen to me. I'm one of the elites. You know, and there's reports of him, he apparently, he did tell Jeff Sessions, don't let the president talk to me. I don't want to talk to the president. The president's mean.
It's pretty strange. I was watching the briefing this morning, and multiple times he said he wasn't mentally tough enough to handle the job.
The job of dealing with it. Well, and
he even admitted to not being smart enough to handle the job of being FBI director.
And he said numerous times he was afraid the president was going to lie. He was terrified by the president. He didn't trust the president. This guy sounds like the classic disgruntled employee. If he worked here at the station and he were canned, I'd be worried about him coming back and going postal.
Yeah.
That's just the type of guy he is. I mean, this is a
type of guy who let Barack Obama get away with selling thousands of guns to Mexico drug cartels.
Well, and the type of guy who said we shouldn't, no reasonable prosecutor would take this case when it came to Hillary Clinton, because apparently no reasonable prosecutor would take a shoe in.
Yeah.
He didn't want to get the Seth Rich treatment. But anyway, this is from the Daily Mail, and this is kind of a synopsis of what he's been saying this morning. He says, the FBI director drops bombshell that he got his version out after he was fired in devastating testimony calling Trump a liar who ordered him to clear Flynn but not drop Russia probe, which doesn't even make a lick of sense. So, and if you watch this morning, Comey, I mean, he seemed unbalanced, to put it nicely. He's sitting there, Trump's a liar, Trump's mean, Trump saw fit to not only bash me, but bash the entire agency. And I don't recall much of that personally, but who am I? I'm just a news person who follows this religiously.
He's baffled because it's just a giant witch hunt where there's no witch. It's the whole thing's the most ridiculous stuff I've ever seen. It's just the Democrats cannot get over losing. So,
well, and you know,
this is all it is. It's just still a big Democrat crybaby party.
And you know, you bring up a good point. I think I'm going to skip ahead and throw a curveball to our production people here, because the Democrat Party is frankly in shambles.
Yeah, they have nobody right now.
And this is all they've got, is this phony Russia, blah, 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 something, hamana, hamana, Putin, hamana, hamana, Russia, hamana, 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 Syria, Assad. That's all they've got at this point, and it's getting sad. It's getting sad. And this, you know, things are bad when the New York Times is openly saying that the Democratic Party is in worse shape than you thought. That's a real article they published today. I almost I did a double take. Like, New York Times?
Yeah.
New York Times?
They have nobody to lead the party right now. It's
What, you don't think Bernie Sanders is a strong and vibrant leader?
Yeah.
Vibrant, full of light, exuberant. So this is a real article, though, and they are actually, this is like a stunning moment of self-reflection that I did not think Democrats were capable of. And you got to hand it to the New York Times, even though they don't get it. They don't get the fullness of the picture, and they're still saying it's because Republicans are racist and sexist and blah, 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 blah. But the fact that they're understanding that they are not the majority anymore is welcome. And I'll read a little bit and then we can talk about it, because it's amazing. And frankly, this is an opinion piece from the New York Times, but it's the New York Times. Everything they do is an opinion piece at this point. So it says, sifting through the wreckage of the 2016 election, Democratic pollsters, strategists, and sympathetic academics have reached some unnerving conclusions. Not unnerving for me, frankly, but you know, it's for them. What the autopsy reveals is that the Democratic losses among the working class voters were not limited to whites. That crucial constituencies within the party leaders see its leaders as alien, and that unity over economic populism may not be able to turn back the conservative tide. Equally disturbing, winning back former party loyalists, I can read, I promise, who switched to Trump will be tough. These white voters' views on immigration and race are in direct conflict with fundamental Democratic tenets. See, and that's a nice way of saying we're all a bunch of racist, sexist, misogynist, basket of deplorables, blah, blah, blah. But they continue. Some of these post-mortem conclusions are based on polling and focus groups conducted by the Democratic Super PAC Priorities USA. Others are drawn from a collection of 13 essays published by the American Prospect. A consistent theme is that the focus on white defections from the Democratic Party masks an even more threatening trend: declining turnout among key elements of the so-called rising American electorate, minority, young, and single voters. Turnout among African Americans, for example, fell by 7 points, from 66.6% in 2012, voting for Barack Obama, first black. This isn't in the article, but they don't understand the way that the world works, apparently. They think that these black people are going to go out and vote for Hillary Clinton the same way they were going to vote for the first black president. And that is some of what just... We were talking about this on this very show. Who on earth is going to go out and vote for Hillary Clinton when she's got this black son of Bill Clinton, who she totally cut out and disowned and said, you can't be part of my family? I mean, why would black people vote for this woman? She is a terrible person, and especially terrible to blacks.
Yeah, and what did she call them?
Stuff we can't repeat on the show. She's alleged to have used the N-word. She's alleged to have called the monkeys.
What was it? Not super criminals or...
Oh, that's super predators. Super predators who have to be reined in. So I don't know why it's any shock that only 59. In fact, I'm shocked that it's as high as 59.6%. And the only reason I think that 59.6% of blacks, and it's not saying that they voted for Hillary, it's saying that they voted, and I maintain the only reason this number of them voted is because of the whole from something racist basket of deplorables. They're going to bring back Jim Crow, the standard lies that they bring out against Republicans.
Most of them voters are people that want to keep their welfare check too.
Well, there is a lot of
They got to stay on that Democratic plantation.
There is a lot of that. As Diamond and Silk say, the Democratic plantation, where they convince black voters that if you don't vote for a Democrat, then you're not a real black person. We've got to take another moment off. You're watching The Honest Media. We will be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back to The Honest Media. We've been discussing, we transitioned from this Comey fiasco because, frankly, everybody else on every other news program is going to be talking about this nonstop, and there's not a lot of substance to it. There just isn't, frankly. Comey said, oh, by the way, no, we never were investigating Trump. The media and the Democrats are not going to apologize because they've all been saying that Trump is under FBI investigation. We're not going to get an apology. So there is no substance to this story except that we know we're right.
Yeah, the whole story is a big nothing burger.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And it is a giant waste of everybody's time. It's a giant opportunity for people to get ratings. Maybe that's why I'm salty, because we couldn't put it on our TV station because we don't have those kind of
And it's really just
agreements.
showing how awesome Putin is, because they keep interviewing him and he just smashes these people.
He just sits there and laughs at him like, are you people in reality? And one thing is, you did get Comey, who contradicted his own statements from the past, saying that now he thinks that Russia is a big deal. I mean, that's the real story here is that Comey is a lunatic.
Well, yeah. And Russia was never a problem. I linked this back. Nobody cared about Russia until they banned Monsanto several years ago.
And there's other things, and they don't like exactly
that
like
was the big
they don't exactly
point,
like the Rothschilds and George Soros and people like that.
They don't let them world bankers in there.
But part of it is, I mean, we know now, or allegedly, it's all, we don't know for sure because we weren't in the room. But we know from a book, oh my goodness, the name I can't remember right now, but it's about the final hours of the Clinton campaign and the final days of the Clinton campaign and weeks when they knew it wasn't going to happen, but Hillary and the people at the very top were just totally oblivious to this. And we now know that within hours of the electoral map coming in and she knowing she was defeated, they were already figuring out who they could blame. And they picked the Russians, and they picked the racists, and they picked the flyover states. Hillary Clinton said a couple months ago that the people who voted for Trump don't have cell service for 20 miles around. I got full bars right now, Hillary. I promise you that. I've got full bars. 4G, LTE, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
So we'll just keep on breaking this down. This New York Times amazing moment of self-reflection, realizing that they have really been shooting themselves in the foot for, 20 years? More?
Yeah, since the beginning.
Since the 60s, when you had LBJ say, I'm going to have those GDNs voting for Democrats for the next century. So we'll go on. Priorities also studied Obama to Trump voters. That's people who had voted for Obama and are now voting for Trump. Estimates of the numbers of such voters range from 6.7 to 9.2 million, far more than enough to provide Trump his electoral college victory. The counties that switched from Obama to Trump were heavily concentrated in the Midwest and other Rust Belt states. Of course, we're talking like Michigan and that kind of thing. To say that this constituency does not look favorably on the Democratic Party fails to capture the scope of their disenchantment. The accompanying chart illustrates this discontent. I think we can get that on screen, I hope. Solid majority, 77% of Obama to Trump voters think that Trump's economic policies will either favor all groups equally, that's 44% of people, or the middle class, that's 33% of people. Only 21% said that Trump would favor the wealthy. Now, the meme is that Republicans are only for the wealthy, so that is a big switch in what people believe. And then it says, in contrast, a plurality of these voters, and I hope we got this chart, 42% said that congressional Democrats would favor the wealthy. Democrats favoring the wealthy. This is how much Trump has changed the narrative. Slightly ahead of congressional Republicans, who we all hate congressional Republicans. Let's be honest here, at 40%. So what we're seeing here is that thanks to Trump, these people, these disenfranchised voters, they have a whole new, which everybody's a disenfranchised voter, unless you're really deep in the Kool-Aid, otherwise known as the welfare checks. These people are now beginning to see that the Republicans are the friends, the real Republicans, the ones like Trump, are the friends of the middle class and every voter. It's not about rich people versus poor people. And this bodes extremely poorly for the Democrats. And one thing that I want to say that, of course, isn't in this article, the Democrats, we've talked about this on the show numerous times, they've been rigging the game for 60, when was the 1955 Immigration Act? Is that right? Am I getting 65? 1965 Immigration Act. So coming up on, 60, 70 years of bringing in third worlders who predominantly vote Democrat for IQ reasons, for cultural reasons, for the fact that they don't understand how democracies are really supposed to work because they haven't ever had them before. So they predominantly vote Democrat. They've been tipping the scales to the point where Republicans should never be able to win. And Trump and the new GOP, led in his image, are breaking through the noise to get these people to vote Republican.
Yeah, you can only keep up a lie for so long before people start catching on.
Yeah, and part of that has to be the internet. We're breaking through, as our friends at InfoWars say, we're breaking the conditioning.
There's been a big shift in the past 8 years of people's minds and understanding of how stuff really works. So
well, and frankly, it's amazing. Within the past 1 year, we've been doing this show now 1 year and 1 day. Our first show was a year ago yesterday, and it's amazing what's happened in the last year. If we had been having this discussion a year ago, we would be seen as a little bit crazy. But now it's completely mainstream, and everybody knows it. And I think everybody knew it a year ago, frankly. But now we can talk about it without fear of being shut down by the PC police. It's like June 6th, of course, is the anniversary of D-Day. And a year ago, June 6th a year ago, we had Hillary and Bernie on June 6th do tweets about Ramadan. This year, Hillary and Bernie, the same two people, nothing about Ramadan on June 6th, only tweets about D-Day. Trump forced that.
Bombadon?
No, it's Ramadan Bombathon.
Oh, yeah.
Which we can bring that up. Maybe we can get that up in the next segment. I'll have to have them bring up the website. If you want to know what we're talking about, go to thereligionofpeace.com. We'll talk about that maybe in the next segment because we've got to have some time to get that screenshot up because the Ramadan Bombathon is very real. But so I just want to.
You score extra points if you kill somebody on Ramadan.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
You get an extra 72 or what?
Extra points and wherever they're going.
Well, I think we all know which way they're going. But I want to continue with this for a little bit because this is when it's comical. Like I said, it's a rare moment of introspection and self-realization on behalf of the Democrats. However, like the typical Democrats they are, Craig, they have to go right back into racist, sexist, misogynist, blah, 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 blah. Guerin described Trump's use of, quote, the race issue as both masterful and dastardly. Dastardly, Craig. He's dastardly in exploiting the polarization on race around Black Lives Matter in the shootings by and of police. In doing so, Trump accentuated people's feelings that battle lines were being drawn in the country and that the forgotten Americans, a.k.a. working class whites, had to take sides. Of course, I mean, Trump mentioned Black Lives Matter maybe twice in that gargantuan campaign that just never seemed to end. It's the Democrats who are the race mongers. Yeah. We all know this. Even here in an article that's supposedly them realizing all their mistakes, they just blame Trump for being a race monger when they're the ones who do the race mongering. It's typical, leftists always project nonsense, same exact stuff we always get. We do have to take another moment off. We will be right back. We've got a lot more exciting stories. We're going to talk about what's going on in Charlotte with the Gay Pride Parade, where Trump voters are not allowed in. We're going to talk about what's going on in Venezuela. We're going to talk about Danny Williams, Clinton's illegitimate son. That's Bill Clinton. We're going to talk about what's going on in Dearborn, Michigan, which is just shocking and sad. We're going to talk about London in Great Britain, where they're going to either have a half-decent prime minister at the end of the day, or they're going to have a terrible one. And we've got some good news coming up at the end of the program about what Attorney General Sessions is doing to fix Obama's mess. We'll be right back after these messages. You're watching The Honest Media. Welcome back to The Honest Media. I'm Tom Pappert here with Craig Chrysler. I told you in the last break that this segment we would talk about what is being called the Ramadan Bombathon. The Ramadan it's not a very politically correct thing to say, is it? But there is a website called thereligionofpeace.com where they keep track of all religious attacks, jihad, whatever you want to call it, inspired by the religion of peace known as Islam. And it is a peaceful religion. Ramadan is a month of peaceful contemplation in which Muslims fast during the day in a very hot part of the world. It's a desert, I've been told, actually, in the Middle East. Children as young as 8 and younger even sometimes are encouraged to participate in Ramadan. People pass out, they get dehydrated, they stay up late at night because they have to consume all their calories after sundown. It's a very bad thing to do, especially to small children. It borders on child abuse, in my humble opinion. And we are currently, as we talk right now, on day 13 of Ramadan. And the Religion of Peace website tells us that on day 13, so far, we have had 73 attacks in the name of Allah, and that has led to 809 deaths in the name of Allah. And that is, we've seen that now in London. We have seen that. It was Manchester. No, Manchester was May. We've seen that all throughout the world, the Islamic world and the West. 809 deaths in 13 days in 73 attacks from the religion of peace known as Islam. But Craig, what we need to do is we need to have the religionofcrusaders.com and find out how many of these Christian extremists are doing the same thing. So I guarantee you there's a Mormon out there who's killed 803 people this month.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's happened.
On his bicycle.
Right. That's a great Binders Full of Women. That's a great website, thereligionofpeace.com. I highly recommend you check back there. They since 2001 and post 9/11, they've been running this website, and they've been keeping tabs on the number of attacks related to or inspired by the wonderful prophet Muhammad, the pedophile prophet. And it's a great resource. You can, it's hard to argue with the sheer facts when you can pull up thousands and thousands of people who have died, their obituaries, how they died, the attacks that inspired it. I mean, we make jokes, but it is a shocking, horrible, depressing subject. And if you can't deal with it with humor, then there is very little hope to get through.
The religion of blowing yourself to pieces.
So speaking of the religion of peace, Michigan. We're going to turn to Michigan. We're going to go domestic here for a second. There's some news in Michigan. For those who haven't been following it, there is a doctor in Michigan, if you can call him such a thing. I wouldn't, personally. Female genital mutilation. That is where they cut the female genitals. It inhibits sexual pleasure. It can cause infection. It is a horrific thing to do to women. It is widely practiced throughout Africa and the Middle East and the Muslim world, all throughout wherever they may be, whether it's the Philippines, Indonesia, anywhere. It is a very frankly barbaric practice, as all genital mutilation is. They like to call it genital cutting or circumcision, implying that it is an okay thing. And for those who don't know, Michigan is the number 2 state for Syrian refugees. But I want to read a little bit of this article, and then we'll talk about what's going on exactly in Michigan, because it is frankly, it's horrifying. I mean, Michigan is not a big state, and they have 1,404 refugees taken in, and that was just by September of 2016. And these are, quote-unquote refugees. These may not even be from Syria. They're military-aged men more often than not. And
the real number is probably double or triple that.
Well, of course, these are the official ones. You can walk down the street and go to a mall, go to a Walmart, and you're sitting there like, really? 400 or 1,400? Really? That's what we're
that whole town is...
Well, Dearborn itself is Dearborn, Michigan is one town in Michigan where it is incredibly Islamified. We'll
Dearbornistan.
Dearbornistan. And it's amazing that Trump won that place with that many voters of a different demographic there. We'll put it nicely.
Yeah, they couldn't find the voting
But this is the article that we wanted to talk about. This is Feds Drop Bombshell. Up to 100 girls may have had their genitals cut in Michigan. And of course, this is from the Detroit Free Press. A federal prosecutor dropped a bombshell on court Wednesday, telling a federal judge that the government estimates that as many as 100 girls may have had their genitals cut at the hands of a local doctor. Again, they use that word. I don't. I would call him a sadist, a barbarian, a disgusting individual, if it's proven true, and it's terrible. The local doctor and her cohorts. Assistant U.S. Attorney Sarah Woodward disclosed the information while trying to convince a judge to keep a doctor and his wife locked up in the historic case. It involves allegations that the 2 Minnesota girls had their genitals cut at a Livonia clinic in February as part of a religious rite of passage, and were told to keep what happened a secret. Quote, due to the secretive nature of the procedure, we were unlikely to ever know how many children were cut by Dr. Nagarwala, Woodward said, referring to the lead defendant in the case, later adding the Minnesota victims were not the first victims. 4 kids in genital mutilation case are to stay with the parents for now, because I'm guessing the parents had something to do with this. Go on.
Oh, I was going to say, I saw an article. This is going on all over the country. This is just one doctor.
Well, this is one doctor. I mean, not a lot of doctors will do this because it's wrong.
Well, it's illegal, I believe.
People were traveling all around the country. Yeah, it is illegal.
I believe it's illegal in the United States,
and
but
people were going all around the country to find this Dr. Woodward. And
this is happening in every state of the U.S.
And I believe it was the Huffington Post, maybe New York Times. Don't quote me on either. But there was a prominent left-wing journalist who chose to call it genital cutting instead of female genital mutilation because she said it's a religious right. We can't, separation church and state. No, it is a terrible, terrible practice that we should not be subjecting anyone to. So it goes on. Against Woodward's wishes, U.S. District Judge Bernard Friedman granted a bond to 2 of the other defendants in the case. Dr. Fakhruddin Attar, 53, of Farmington Hills, who is accused of letting Nagarwala use his clinic to perform the genital cutting procedures on minor girls, and his wife, Farida Attar, 50, who is accused of holding the girls' hands during the procedure to keep them from squirming and to calm them. The government believes the 3 defendants, all members of the local Indian Muslim sect, subjected numerous girls to genital cutting procedures over a 12-year period. To date, the government has identified 8 victims, including the 2 Minnesota girls, though Woodward said the government estimates there could be as many as 100. She said that is a conservative estimate and that it's based on Dr. Attar's alleged admission to authorities that he let Nagarwala use his clinic up to 6 times per year to treat children for, quote, genital rashes. It is, and this, before we go to break, I'm going over, I'm going to get yelled at here, but before we go to break, I just want to read the Attar lawyer's quotes. She said, and this is the quote, folks, then we got to go to break. I think the government has overstated so many aspects of this case, and this is one more example of overreaching. And then she goes on to say, basically, that this is not genital cutting, it's genital shaving. You just shave the genitals, and therefore, it's okay. You're watching The Honest Media. We've got to take a moment off. When we get back, more cheerful news. You're watching The Honest Media. We will return in just a few minutes. Welcome back to The Honest Media. I'm Tom Pappert, here with Craig Chrysler. So I told you last break we've got some good news, and really it's just fascinating news, I think. This is from the AmericanMirror.com, and it's Twitter verifies Bill Clinton's alleged son before Bubba does. Danny Williams is who he says he is, at least according to Twitter. The Twitter user Jack Posobiec notes the man who claims to be Bill Clinton's son by a black prostitute was just verified by the social media network, something the former president has yet to do. Posobiec writes, breaking, Twitter just verified Bill Clinton's son. That's Posobiec's words, Danny Williams. And it's true, Williams' profile shows the blue check mark next to his name, and near his profile description it says, quote, I'm the son of the 42nd President of the United States, Bill Clinton, hashtag Clinton kid, hashtag Bill Clinton's son. Williams, who bears a striking resemblance to Clinton, lists his location as Arkansas, or as we say here in the great state of Kansas, Arkansas, Clinton's former state where he was Attorney General and Governor. Just days before the 2016 presidential election, Williams held a press conference where he asked for a Bill Clinton DNA sample to disprove or prove his assertion. Appearing at the National Press Club on November 1st, Danny Williams made an emotional plea to the Clinton intern and lover, Monica Lewinsky, but also to the people who he says are his family. He said, quote, I also want to take this opportunity to appeal to my stepmom, Hillary Clinton, Williams said. Quote, she has the power to have Bill Clinton provide a DNA sample, which Williams is attempting to secure through threatened legal action. He continues, I heard Hillary say she spent her life helping children. If black lives truly matter to her, why not mine? Why don't you care about me, Hillary? Are you embarrassed about me? Hillary, are you ashamed of me? I'm black. I am real. He said, appearing to fight back tears. Hillary, please don't deny my existence. You are my stepmother. Chelsea is my sister. Bill Clinton is my father. And for those who don't know, it's alleged, I mean, it's in books.
Chelsea probably isn't his sister.
No, that's a different man. Hubble's son, allegedly. That's the magic word that keeps the lawyers at bay. But there are books you can read from the 90s out there that Bill Clinton, back when he was governor of Arkansas, he would have his aides bring the Williams family Christmas and birthday presents for young Danny Williams.
He had the sheriffs taking him presents to his house.
Right, the sheriff. And I mean, why would you do this for some random black kid that's the son of a prostitute? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would you do that for some kid who you have no relationship to? What, does he do it for every black kid in the state of Arkansas? I don't think so.
Probably just his favorite prostitutes' kids.
Just his favorite prostitute kids who happen to look a whole lot like him.
And I don't think Hillary cares too much about black children. She spent most of her career having them aborted.
Well, and now we know that Hillary, she allegedly says Black Lives Matter. She's so in favor of helping African Americans, but she used prison labor for 20 some odd years, I think it came out. That was just one of her recent books, one of the ones that sold like 400 copies. You and I should have read that book. We could have had some breaking news here on the show.
I didn't even know she wrote it.
But nobody knew she wrote the book. Nobody bought the day. It sold like 600 copies or something unimaginably low like that. But I mean, this is an interesting development.
Well, poor old Bill. If you've seen him, he looks like he's on a permanent acid trip. Every picture I see of him,
those balloons.
Yeah.
That was the best part of the DNC is him.
The
balloons. Like, I don't think that guy had ever seen balloons before.
Well, he's on a permanent acid trip now. They just got him brainwashed so he can't say anything stupid anymore.
Well, allegedly he ran a parallel campaign to Hillary's, and his campaign was much more successful than hers by all accounts. So I want to deliver. We said we'd get to this news, and it's very important news that nobody really likes to cover. Where this is coming from ABC News, and of course this is kind of from the they want it to be from the socialist perspective here. They're giving that because it's ABC, and always. Bettering communism. I don't know. We got to come up with a new name. So this is an article that is about what it's like to be part of the military in Venezuela, which of course the Chavez revolution. Bernie Sanders paradise.
Yeah,
in fact, a few years ago,
where he got his honeymoon.
That
was
in the Soviet Union. No, he is much too old to have been honeymooning in Venezuela. Venezuela was, I believe, 1996 or 8 is when Chavez's revolution was.
Yeah, true.
And Bernie, he was already like ancient in '98. But this is, of course, for those who don't know, a quick rundown about Venezuela. They used to be one of the most rich, powerful countries in South America. They were considered to be a rival of the United States in the Western Hemisphere.
Don't they have the biggest oil reserve on the planet or something?
Yes, on the planet, I'm not sure. Definitely our side of the world than the West. Biggest oil reserves. Maybe
Tons of natural resources.
It is just, by many accounts, was a beautiful place.
Yeah, I was there when I was a kid.
People are...
it was nice.
Then the people are struggling under socialist, communist strangleholds. Of course, the Chavez revolution was okay for a couple years because, you know, whenever you put socialism in, you've got the vestigial impact of capitalism. So you're going to be all right for a couple years, and it helps when you've got enough oil to destroy the entire world's marine population.
And then soon you start running out of other people's money.
That's right, because nobody wants to work, because what's the point?
Yeah.
And we are now, of course, in Maduro, his administration, which is the Chavez's successor, naturally. And the Maduro administration is depending on the military to keep them in power. People are rioting in the streets. People have lost, I believe it was, what was it 12 pounds just due to starvation over the course of the year.
There's no food in the stores.
The hospitals can't keep power. Children are dying en masse. It is a horrifying place to be. But this is
socialist paradise.
And socialist paradise. Bernie Sanders, as recently as I want to say 4 years ago, was tweeting about it, saying that it is an example for the world to aspire to. And now, of course, he has to change that tune a little bit because people are dying in record numbers. So this is titled "All Eyes on Venezuelan Military as Country Teeters." It was 10 a.m. and the newly promoted lieutenant was already sweating under his plastic face shield and black flak jacket. A few days before, the 28-year-old who goes by the name of Qatar had watched a National Guardsman get his arm broken at a protest. A week earlier, a friend collapsed several paces away from him on the riot line, shot through the groin. Qatar pulled up his visor and chain-smoked by his motorcycle, hoping the day would pass quickly. It goes on to say that they are hoping that, or the Chavez administration, I should say, is counting on the military to keep them intact, because that is all they've got left. However, using the internet, anti-government forces, these people who simply don't want to starve to death, frankly, don't want to watch their mothers, their daughters, their children, their little sons die because of starvation and malnutrition, they're putting out posts on the internet saying, listen, military people, we know you're our age. We know you're like us. You don't have to put up with this. You can stop fighting. You can end this insanity. And so while it is, it's some interesting news out of Venezuela, the country is quickly, they're going to have to make a change, or else I don't know. I don't know what happens. You can't let a whole country starve to death simultaneously.
Well,
eventually there's going to be no one but the elites
There's been
left.
lots of places that have done it.
Well, eventually there's only going to be the elites
They've
left.
all been communists.
And those guys can't exactly work for a living. So everybody's just going to die. We've got to take a moment off. You're watching The Honest Media. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to The Honest Media. I'm Tom Pappert here with Craig Chrysler. So if you're watching this tonight, you're getting close. We're going to know here shortly what's going on in the United Kingdom. We're going to know if they continue under Theresa May's leadership, which she's got some startling ideas about what to do with the internet, but she's not the worst prime minister they've ever had by a long shot. The last guy was much worse. Or whether they're going to have a raving socialist who is going to turn the United Kingdom into the next Venezuela. So we'll know that here shortly. But the other thing about this guy is if they don't get Theresa May, she at least seems hesitant, to put it nicely, to bring in some of these third worlders who are changing the landscape of Europe and the West, destroying our culture, destroying what made the West great. This is what just happened in London today. A man is held by police in North London after roaming through a heavily Jewish area, shouting, "Allah, Allah," and "I'm going to kill you all." A man was held by police in North London after roaming through the Jewish area. Officers were called to attend the scene at Stamford Hill on Thursday morning. Volunteers at the Northeast London Shomrim, a Jewish neighborhood watch group, tweeted about the incident. Shomrim followed a man in Stamford Hill shouting, "Allah, Allah, I'm going to kill you all," which, God bless the Jews, they're smart enough to realize they need to have their own patrols to prevent a no-go zone from happening in their neighborhood. Those are not the neighbors you want roaming through your neighborhood.
I mean, that's not
in large
normal
numbers.
behavior. A guy
on a Thursday morning in the middle of Ramadan shouting, Allah, Allah, I'm going to kill you all. Yeah, I guess, I don't know, maybe that is normal. In Londonistan, it may be normal. It's not normal here in the Midwest of the United States of America.
Not yet, anyway.
No. Maybe
it is in Michigan.
I was going to say, maybe in Dearborn. The man was sectioned by the Hackney police under the Mental Health Act. And this is where the story is going to get messed up here in a second. Thankfully, police were able to detain him for their incident. A Met police spokesman told Mail Online police were first called at 10:08 on Thursday, 8th of June, to report a man using threatening words and behavior on Leaside Road. Officers attended and subsequently located and stopped the man on Leland Road in Tottenham. He was detained by the officers under the Mental Health Care Act. And this is where it gets. This is how you know it's London. This is how you know it's London. No one was injured. This is not being treated as terror related. Allah, Allah, I'm going to kill you all. Not terror related.
Yeah.
Just a crazy person.
Just like when...
He's just a crazy lone wolf.
Yeah, just like when guys in vans run over people or stab people or
we should
blow
not be
people up at
concerned.
concerts.
It's just part and parcel of living in a big city.
Yeah, and they all yell Allah.
We need to be nicer to Muslims or else they will join ISIS, even though ISIS has nothing to do with Islam and Islam is a religion of peace.
Covfefe.
That's all you have to say. So, and again, these Jewish people patrolling their neighborhood, the rest of London can learn something from them. From the Schaumburg volunteers patrolling by foot and in vehicles, this is what they say. They serve to act as an extension to the police's eye and ears. The volunteers' responsibility is to report suspicious incidents and crimes in the community to the police.
I'm surprised they didn't arrest the Jews for being racist.
And clearly they were just being very intolerant. They didn't understand that it is a different culture and they need to be welcoming to their new third world friends.
Let them rape your daughters and blow your people up and
you know there's been kind of is diaspora the right word? There's been a mass exodus of Jews from throughout Europe. They're going to Israel. They're going to Israel because it is much safer there than in Europe. In Israel, where you've got Palestine, Iran, all of these hostile states right next door. You've got ISIS in the neighborhood, and they're saying, Israel's got that very nice wall.
Yeah,
I'm going to go behind that big wall. And I'm going to go behind that wall, and I'm not going to stay in Europe. Yeah. I mean, there's a great...
Well, they shifted all the crappy Muslims off to Europe.
In that case, it is some brilliant seven-dimensional underwater backgammon.
It might be safer to move to Pakistan now than it is to, than it is to live in England or France.
No, that was Afghanistan. I want to go to Afghanistan
and
see the crater of the Moab. I think that'll make it safe. Okay, so we probably got to rush through this story, but it deserves a mention because... this is what we deal with in the United States as Trump supporters. Even if you are one of the left's protected groups, gay Trump supporters, perhaps, a gay man who happens to support Trump, you are not welcome by the left in the current year. This is from Fox 5 New York, reported originally in Charlotte, North Carolina by Fox 46. A group says Charlotte Pride is pushing them out of the gay parade because they support President Trump. The quote is, "I'm very proud of my country, proud of my president, and was once proud of my community," said Brian Talbert, who said he's proud to be gay and proud to be a Republican. His truck has a Trump pins bumper sticker and a "Not a Liberal" sign on the back window. He says, "I'm very proud of my vote. I don't regret my vote. I will vote for Donald Trump again. I'm proud of my president, and I don't think I should be vilified because I'm proud of a U.S. president as an American." He says that he and a fellow gay Republican sent in an application to the Charlotte Pride so they could have a float in this year's Charlotte Pride Parade. The response, according to Fox 46, provided by them, says, "Dear Gays for Trump, this message is to confirm that we have received your application for entry in the 2017 Charlotte Pride Parade. Unfortunately, we are not able to approve your application. Thank you, Charlotte Pride Parade team."
Yeah.
How do you like that? Nice explanation. Gave a lot of good reasons. Well argued. Yeah. Totally not just rampant political discrimination on behalf of a left-leaning group against the token right-wingers, right?
They'd rather have Democrats that let millions of radical Muslims in so they can be thrown off roofs.
That's right. Like the what is it? The Gays for Palestine, the most confused group of individuals in the United States. Yeah, gays who want to be thrown off buildings. Okay, now we've got to get to the good news. We're running out of time, so I've got to give it to you quick. But for those of you who watch the show, you know about the Obama-era slush fund that funneled billions of dollars through settlements and $800 coffee makers to leftist groups. Sessions just ended it. In March, it was revealed the Obama administration was, this is by the Daily Wire, by the way, was funneling billions of dollars to left-wing activist groups via a slush fund scheme at the Department of Justice. And Jeff Sessions, the beautiful, fair-haired Jeff Sessions, ended it. You know, people say all he does is go down hard on drug crimes, which frankly isn't the worst idea in the world, just to ask a certain Filipino president. But he's ending the leftist corruption, one measure, one slush fund, every day a new thing, one day at a time, where by the end of the first 4 years, we might start having a country we can truly, truly expect to be morally adherent to what the Constitution and our Western values expect it to have. All right. It's been a great show. That was a great word salad, wasn't it? I should write Hillary Clinton's speeches. Thank you for watching. This is The Honest Media. I'm Tom Pappert, here with Craig Chrysler. We will see you again next week, same time, same place.